Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring. More on them at the end of the video. In today's Tea Time with Jennifer, we are going to be exploring Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin's controversial diets. I have a very easy recipe for a berry compote that you can use in your tea time. And for the style segment, I'm introducing you to a Los Angeles-based jewelry line that you are absolutely going to love. So pour yourself a cup of tea and join me for an all-new Tea Time with Jennifer. Okay, so in today's tea time video, I'm drinking the Peak Pu'er fermented green tea, and I've been loving Pu'er tea. It's like a whole new world that I've discovered lately. So I'm having that in my Wedgwood China cup. So let's jump right into the main topic of the video, which is to talk about Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin's controversial diets. And this video has a similar theme to the last one where we talked about Marie Kondo and statements that she recently made in an interview, because I feel like the media takes these statements that these celebrities make and kind of spin them, and then it kind of gets out of control, which is what seems to have happened in this case. So Gwyneth Paltrow gave an interview about what she eats in a day, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then right after that, like a few weeks later, Chris Martin did an interview as well. And look at these headlines that you can see here. I took a screenshot. Chris Martin says he doesn't eat dinner after Gwyneth Paltrow's diet goes viral. Chris Martin says he doesn't have dinner anymore following ex-Gwyneth Paltrow's intermittent fasting diet backlash. Gwyneth Paltrow's ex, Chris Martin, admits he skips dinner after she came under fire for quote-unquote starvation diet. Okay, so Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin, they were married, they have 2 children together. That's why they're linked in these articles for talking about their diets. From what I've read from both of them, it seems that they both do a version of intermittent fasting. So we're going to get into the particulars of each of their diets right now. But I have to say before we begin that I love Chris Martin. Coldplay is my favorite band. Ben and I have seen them live in concert. It was the best concert I've ever been to. So I'm such a huge fan of Chris Martin, and I like Gwyneth Paltrow too. So this video is not going to be speaking negatively about either of them. And I think that's the problem with the media. It's like, that's what they try to do with Marie Kondo. They try to paint them in a bad light. So let's look at exactly what happened here. When Gwyneth was asked on a podcast what she eats in a day, she mentioned that she starts the day off with coffee, and then she usually has some bone broth at lunchtime. And then she mentioned that for dinner, she usually follows a paleo diet with lots of vegetables. So the media took that and said she only has coffee, bone broth, and vegetables to eat. And it really blew up. I saw this story everywhere where people were really criticizing her for it. Here's the thing. It's like if you ask somebody what they eat in a day and they tell you, you can't get mad at them. I mean, what was she supposed to do? Lie? She was asked the question and she responded. Now, when I heard the interview, I did not hear that she only eats vegetables at night. I heard that she follows the paleo diet, okay? But that's not really what the media picked up on. So let's have a look at what the paleo diet is. This is from the Mayo Clinic. A paleo diet is an eating plan based on foods humans might have eaten during the Paleolithic era. A modern paleo diet includes fruits, vegetables, lean meats, fish, eggs, nuts, and seeds. Okay, that sounds really good to me. I try to eat like that. However, I do have a lot of carbs and I do have sugar. So let's see what the paleo diet does not include. So it says foods to avoid in the paleo diet: no processed foods, sugar, soft drinks, artificial sweeteners, or trans fat. Foods to limit include grains, most dairy products, and legumes. I don't personally follow the paleo diet. I eat a little bit of everything, as you can see in my What I Eat in a Day videos. I know from my past that if I try to follow a restrictive diet like that, it never works out well for me. So I just don't even bother. But that's what she likes to eat. And so it sounds to me like she does an intermittent fast where she doesn't eat in the morning. She breaks it with bone broth at lunch and then has a paleo dinner. Now, to me, this sounds like one meal a day, or the OMAD diet that has become popular with a lot of people in the intermittent fasting community. Okay, so we're going to hold it right there, and we're going to then go to Chris Martin's interview because he was interviewed. So Chris, in his interview, said, "I stop eating at 4. and that he doesn't have dinner anymore. And he attributed this decision that he made with his diet to Bruce Springsteen. So this is exactly what he said. He said, "I actually don't have dinner anymore. I stop eating at 4 p.m. and I learned that from having lunch with Bruce Springsteen." So Chris Martin isn't saying that he has one meal a day. He's just saying he stops eating at 4 p.m. Now, obviously, I am an advocate for intermittent fasting. I do it myself. And I've been doing it for 3 years, and over the 3 years, I've really learned a lot about myself. I've changed a lot too about how I do it. I used to do the 16-8 method every single day, and then I watched some videos, I read some books, and I educated myself a bit more on it, and I now do not do it every day. I mix it up. So there's 1 week in a month where I don't fast at all, and I just have like a normal eating window. I have a later dinner or maybe a snack later in the evening. And then there's about 1 day a week or so where I don't fast as well. And I love this lifestyle. It feels really good for me. So for the most part, people are very supportive of me sharing my intermittent fasting journey. And I think because me sharing my journey has helped a lot of people on this channel. And I know this because you tell me in the comment section. But I do get a few people who give me trouble about sharing this choice that I've made in my life. So on a very small scale, I understand what they're both going through, but they're both kind of really going through the ringer for mentioning these things. Now, it sounds to me like Gwyneth does do OMAD, and Chris just seems like he just doesn't have dinner anymore. Maybe he does 2 meals a day. So I'm not judging Gwyneth or Chris. They can eat however they like. And I think that we all need to be mature enough adults to realize that when you hear somebody give a talk about what they do for their diet, you can do the research yourself, talk to your own doctor, and figure out if it's right for you or if it's good for you. Now, I've never had the desire to do OMAD. I know people in my life who do it. For me, it doesn't seem like I would get enough nutrients in that 1 meal. And I also don't think that it's very natural. Like, I don't believe God created us to just have 1 meal a day. I think it's more natural to eat a bit more throughout the day. And that's why I've never done OMAD. But there's an interesting article here where a nutritionist gives her take on it. A nutritionist called Luxie Dianadan says, 1 meal a day is unlikely to provide all the energy you need. For a balanced diet, we need a variety of different nutrients that we must obtain through our diet. And this would come from several meals and snacks to ensure that we have a variety to be able to nourish our bodies. And that makes complete sense to me. She says long-term effects can result in vitamin and mineral deficiencies due to not having a balanced diet that provides you with these all-important nutrients. The article goes on to say that while 3 meals a day are normal for most people, it might not be right for everybody, so it's good to mix it up. Now, I know a lot of people that like OMAD and they find success on it and they're happy with it. But if we're looking at the things that I've learned from my intermittent fasting journey, I've learned, for example, to switch it up, to not do it every day. And it seems like if you're doing OMAD every day, then you're doing the same thing every day, and that it's good for everybody to switch it up a little bit. So that's all. But when I read both of their interviews, I wasn't like horrified and aghast, and I'm thinking they can do what they want to do as long as they're healthy and happy with what they're doing. I'm very grateful for all of the intermittent fasting research that's out there, and it does seem like celebrities are normalizing it a little bit more. I think that as with everything, when you do research on something, when you approach it responsibly, if they're getting all the nutrients they need in those meals that they have and they're happy with it, then I see no problem with that. I think a lot of people were putting them under fire because they said, well, you know, you are influencing people to do this, but everybody has a brain. It's like if Gwyneth Paltrow does paleo, I looked into it. I'm like, okay, what's paleo? And I look into it and I realize, you know, paleo is not for me because I like eating grains, I like eating carbs, and I do have sugar. So I am a mature woman and I'm able to say, that's good for her. I'm glad that works for her. That wouldn't work for me. It also seems like she does in OMAD, again, which doesn't work for me. But what I can take from looking at what she does is, I like the fact that she drinks bone broth. I want to drink more bone broth, not as a meal replacement, but add it into my nutritional intake a little bit more. And then with Chris Martin, I think, you know, again, we are a culture that is used to now eating like 12 hours. I mean, sometimes people just have something every hour. They're constantly snacking all day. They're not giving their body time to digest. And so he saw Bruce Springsteen, who was a lot older than him, in really great shape and doing well and healthy and happy, and he learned his secret, and so he's trying it. And I think that's all we can do as humans to better ourselves. So that was my take on it. I don't think that their diets are that extreme. I think that we are all mature enough to sift through what other people do and take what works for us and take what doesn't. That's what people do with my videos. I have all sorts of people watch my videos. I have lots of vegan viewers. I'm not a vegan, but they're able to watch my content and realize, okay, the fact that I eat meat is not for them, but they're able to, you know, translate that to what that does mean for them. And that's all we have to do. So I would love to hear your thoughts on Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin's intermittent fasting routines. What do you think about all of this? Let us know in the comment section down below. Okay, now I want to share my berry compote recipe with you. Last summer when I was in England, I found berry compote in the grocery store, and I loved having it with Greek yogurt in the morning when I was in England. So this time I had an idea because I had a lot of fruit that was about to go bad, like it was soft, you know? So you could do this if you have blueberries, berries, raspberries that are too soft for you to enjoy on their own raw, but they're not bad yet. So what I did was I took 2 cups of fruit and I washed it and I put it in a saucepan, and this is my Le Creuset saucepan. And then I put just a tablespoon of sugar. Now, if you want to avoid sugar in this, don't put any. If you look up recipes online, it'll tell you to put a lot more, like 1/4 cup, but that was too much for me. So I just put about a tablespoon of sugar and I squeezed 1 lemon into the berries. And then on the stove, you're going to, you know, stir this over low heat for about 15 minutes until it really boils down. And then you're going to let it cool. And you've just made a compote. This is a great way to use food that you would probably throw away otherwise. Now, I have done this where I've added a little bit of cornstarch to this as it's cooking. It thickens up nicely, and I'll use this as a filling for one of my whole wheat tarts, and I enjoy that at tea time. But in this case, I kept the compote and had it a few times throughout the week. So one example is you could have it on top of vanilla ice cream, and it's really delicious. And then in the morning time, you could have it with some Greek yogurt and pumpkin seeds, which I have been loving lately. Pumpkin seeds are so good for you if you read about the benefits of them. So I've been trying to put pumpkin seeds into my diet almost every day. So that's a super simple recipe for berry compote. And if you have any variations on this recipe, I would love to hear it down below. And now for the style segment of Tea Time with Jennifer, I want to introduce you to Zoe Lev Los Angeles. I know a lot of you have noticed that I've been wearing these really pretty oval hoop earrings, and I like these hoops because they have an architecture to them that's different than regular hoops. They're really thick and they have somewhat of a rectangular shape to them, so I think they're pretty. And so Zoe Lev have really great jewelry that is pretty affordable, so I'm going to leave them down below. You're seeing the oval hoop earrings, and then I also have their chain link necklace and their herringbone chain necklace as well. That's all from their Vermeil collection. I love picking out jewelry for the day, thinking about how it's going to go with my outfit and matching it to my mood and everything. So I've really enjoyed exploring and getting to know the Zoe Lev jewelry better. And now a word from Skillshare, who is our sponsor for today's video. So Skillshare is an online learning platform. I've been featuring them for years. I love Skillshare. And you may know them for their classes in photography, film, and video editing and illustration. But did you know that Skillshare has hundreds of career-focused classes too? So this year is the perfect time to reinvent your goals and yourself. Learn what it takes to break into a creative industry and take classes to find your creative voice and style on Skillshare. So I love using Skillshare as an educational supplement for my own career. You know that I do a lot of flower arranging in my videos, and I'm self-taught as a florist, but I took a flower arranging class on Skillshare that was so good. It's called Everyday Flowers, Simple and Stunning Arrangements for Any Occasion by Spencer Falls. In this class, I learned about everything from choosing the vase to building a beautiful bouquet. And one of the major tips I learned was to crisscross leafy greens to create a base that will hold your flowers in position. This is a great class, and they have so many different classes that you wouldn't even think they'd have, like lifestyle classes, journaling classes, flower arranging. It's really great. So if you're interested in breaking out into a more creative career, you could explore your interests and supplement your ideas here on Skillshare. So the first 1,000 people to use my link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thank you so much for joining us today on The Daily Connoisseur. I look forward to hearing all your thoughts about Gwyneth Paltrow, Chris Martin, and tea time related delights. If you have a topic that you would like me to discuss on Tea Time with Jennifer, please let me know. In the meantime, keep calm and remain classy. See you later, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.